Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today got an updated Abomination build for you. We did this one last patch in which we had the non-decaying form of Abomination, and I just wanted to update it a bit and show that it's still capable of doing tier 4 Julras, can still do 300 plus corruption. Haven't made many changes to it, but obviously the gear has gotten better, so I threw some gear on that we have farmed for other characters, such as having an 𝐓𝐤𝐦𝐽𝐦 that has extra life on it, extra move speed with the last steps of the living, and then of course there are some other legendaries you can use as well, so I will put in a luxury build planner so that you can get some really good endgame items in mind for what you would want. But this is one of the best builds for just being able to completely take out Julra at any tier really quick and easily without having to do a whole bunch yourself. You're basically just going to summon the Abomination, he'll last the whole fight, and then of course you just put Infernal Shade and Dread Shade on him, and he'll continue to have 100% crit as well as a very fast attack speed, and this will allow him to take out Julra nice and easy. Now, until you get Infernal Shade and Dread Shade going 100% uptime for him, he can feel a little slow and a little wonky, especially while leveling up. But once you get him going, once you have Infernal Shade giving him the move speed and the attack speed, he's quite quick, and it's not that bad to run echoes and things with him. He is more of a boss and arena type, but he works alright even for clearing out echoes, which is something that you'll have to do to get the proper gear unless you do it on another character for him, which is also possible as well. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills and just how this build works. For skills, I'm running Assemble Abomination with +2 levels. We have Summon Skeleton Mage, Infernal Shade, and Dread Shade. So for Assemble Abomination, we have this set up so that he won't decay health. So we've got 3 points in Domination, so he'll do 24% more damage. 1 point in 𝐓𝐰𝐢𝐬 Death, which makes it to where you can only consume skeletons and skeleton mages, but we can still get plenty of different types. That's how we'll spec those trees. And he also will not decay unless you summon 6+ of them while one of them is active, but we're not going to have them active. We're just going to have the Abomination by himself, so he will never decay health. Now, he will lose health when he takes damage, but his leech will be greater than that, and he hits so hard, he will constantly have full health. We have 5 points in Engorgement for damage per minion consumed. We have 4 points in 𝐓𝐼𝐻 for damage per type of minion consumed. This is why we'll be trying to get as many minions as possible. And we have Death in the Family for having 150% increased attack speed when you have at least 5 types of minions consumed. That's why we'll be going for as many minions and as many types as minions as possible. It's also why this build will be a little bit different than last patch. It's because we will not be unspecking the Skeleton Mage and Skeleton Warrior to try and do some other minions like zombies like we did. We're just going to have this nice simple and use the 5 skills that we have spec'd. We also have 3 points in Hulking Mass for more health, and then 1 point in Deadeye, so that since we are consuming skeleton archers, he will get an Arrow Nova every 4 seconds, and this just kind of helps with AoE, especially like in echoes when you're running through them. That automatic Arrow Nova every 4 seconds helps kill off a lot of mobs. For Summon Skeleton, we just have this spec so that we can get as many different types as possible. That doesn't require all the points, but here's where I put them. We've got 5 points in Necrotic Conviction. We've got 3 points in Unholy Rage, 1 point in Marrow Walkers, because we also want to have as many as possible. We have 1 point in Grave Walkers, 4 points in Unbound Necromancy, 5 points in Sweeping Strikes, and 1 point in Skeleton Rogues so that we can add Rogues to the mix. Now, another thing you can do with this, we're getting Rogues, we're getting Skeleton Archers, and we're getting Skeleton Warriors. You can also get one more by putting a point into Hollow Walkers. I just didn't go for it here, but you can definitely do it and get one more to add in. For Summon Skeleton Mage, we've got 3 points in Gravetide and 1 point in Cryomancers to unlock them. We have 5 points in Cellar Mortis, 3 points in Grey Merchant, and 1 point in Cryomancers to unlock them, so you can now have 3 types of mages. And then we've got 1 point in Aura of Death to have an additional mage, 4 points in Shadow Warden. Again, all these extra points don't really do anything for it because you're not going to have them on top of your Abomination at the same time. And the last 2 points in Leech Life. For Infernal Shade, we have this to affect the minion and place it on our minion to give him attack speed and move speed as well as extra haste. So we've got 3 points in Influence, 1 point in Demonic Tether, 1 point in Devour and Flame so that you can now target your minions, 1 point in Burn Trail so it now hastes the minion, 1 point in Subjugation, which increases the damage of the Infernal Shade itself, but this is going to increase the damage it's doing to your minion as well. 1 point in Soulfire, so it has unlimited duration. Now it will just continue to do more and more and more damage, which will eventually kill the Abomination, but you can refresh it by recasting it. So once you see it doing about 1,000 damage ticks after about a minute, just hit him again with it and it goes back down to about 100 damage and then restarts its scaling. Now if you get to a point where you want to take a break, you can either let it kill him and then resummon him, or you can summon some other minions and start casting it on the other minions until it's no longer on the Abomination and just let the other minions die off. And then the last 3 points we have in Demonic Possession for that increased move speed and attack speed, a max of 72%, which you'll hit after 6 seconds of being in there. And those weren't the last points, but we have 5 more in Crackling Flames for increased duration. You don't need the 5 points there because you have an unlimited duration, and 4 points in Brimstone for slow chance. Again, there's nowhere really else that you can do unless you want to do more damage to yourself. There's really nowhere else to put the points. Again, these are just filled in so that they're there. Feel free to swap them as you please. And then for Dread Shade, we have this set up to make our minion have 100% crit and not to decay his health. It also gives some flat damage, attack speed, increased damage, things like that. So we have 2 points in Spectral Presence, 1 point in Lone Watcher. This makes it so it no longer drains health, but you can only have 1 maximum Dread Shade, which is fine because we only have 1 minion. We also have 3 points in Dying Coven, 4 points in Grim Fate, 1 point in Symbiotic Apparition. It'll affect us now, not that that really matters, but it is nice just in case you have another skill that you want to throw in and do some damage. 3 points in Flesh Harvest, so as the Abomination's health goes down, he's going to get increased buffs from these. 4 points in Lingering Doom for increased necrotic damage. 1 point in All for One for increased damage, and 1 point in Egoism for our minion always getting the ability to crit. Every hit that he does will indeed crit. For passives, I have 21 points in the Acolyte, with 8 points in Forbidden Knowledge, 8 points in Stolen Vitality, and 5 points in Dark Rituals. We got 10 points in the Lich, with all 10 points in Apocrypha for all of that intelligence, and the mana regen is nice for when summoning them all really quick. Other than that, you don't need mana regen, but the intelligence is nice for the ward retention. And then 82 points in the Necromancer, with 8 points in Risen Army, 3 points in Cursed Blood, 1 point in Blood Armor, 8 points in Mortal Tether, 4 points in Aegis Fall, 1 point in Unbound Necromancy, 8 points in Unearth Arms, 8 points in Tyrant, 8 points in Cling to Life, 1 point in Tyrant's Legion, 10 points in Moonlight Prior, 5 points in Frantic Summons, 5 points in Rivers of Bones, and this is so that your minion, your Abomination, will have a ton of Leech, 10 points in Rite of Undeath, 1 point in Blades of Forlorn, and 1 point in Disciples of Necromancy. For gear, there's really nothing fancy needed. You can get this gear relatively easily. Not a lot of exalted items here. Of course, exalted items could bring it even higher. In fact, you could have even more life than I have here. But we do have a couple of things that I found in the game that we put on this. First off, for the weapon, we do have increased minion melee damage at tier 7. Now that can be on literally anything that it can drop on. It doesn't matter what weapon type you're using. All you want is increased minion melee damage. Tier 6, tier 7 are relatively easy to find. Tier 6, you can usually find one or already have one, at least on some exalted weapon somewhere. Now we do have 2 legendary items in 𝐓𝐤𝐻 and Last Steps to the Living. I want to make it clear, these do not have to be legendary. However, in 𝐓𝐤𝐻 with LP is actually pretty common, and we did get a 3 LP one that had Vitality and flat health on it. Unfortunately, we didn't get increased health, but that would have been a perfect world one for us. But this gives us a big boost in life. Same with the Last Steps to the Living, we got move speed on it, but you could get hybrid health or increased health on that as well, or flat health, and that would be huge for it as well. For everything else, you're just basically going for minion damage and as much health as possible, cover your resistances, and get a little bit of minion health regen if you can. Getting the Abomination more health is better than minion health regen because he has so much leech when he attacks. You don't really need any minion health regen, so don't worry about stacking a bunch of that. And then for our idols, we have a bunch of hybrid health idols. Now for these, they are kind of rare, but as you play, you're going to find them, and having 8 of them is the best that you can get. And then also you can throw in some 1x1s with health and armor. Obviously having as much armor and having as much health as possible is going to really make you tanky. Now, while this build doesn't mean that you're going to have no leech, you're just going to run around with it. Having this much life and having more int than I have, I'm missing int on a lot of my pieces. You can definitely have more int than I have. It will allow you to get even more ward, but for us, we're usually sitting with 4,000 health at just over 5,500 health, and that's a huge hit that would take you to one-shot. What's nice is as you run away and let the Abomination kill things, you'll be regenning that ward, and don't worry, you don't have to stop and cast anything in the meantime. You can literally just run around and survive. For the character sheet, as you can see, We have just over 4,000 health. We've got our resistances mostly kind of close to capped. We're a little low in physical and poison, but again, not super mandatory. Like I said, you've already seen the gameplay. Beat tier 4 Julra with these stats. Super easy to do. We've got about 70% critical strike avoidance. Again, if you can fit some more in there, getting 100% would be best. I'm still looking for an empowered blessing from the Reign of Dragon to be able to hit 100% with that, and then I'd be good to go. And then for damage, nothing on your part. For minions, you've got just about 1,000% minion health, and you've got about 500% global minion damage. We have 777% minion melee damage, a lot of that coming from the weapon itself. And then for how to play this build and set it up. So first off, you're just going to summon all your minions. You only have to do this once every time that you log in, and it's going to be, once you have the Abomination, you won't have to do it again. So here you can see we have all the minions. You summon your Abomination, and then you're going to throw a Dread Shade and Infernal Shade on him, and you're good to go. You no longer have to do anything. He's not going to die. He's going to survive, unless you just leave him there with the Infernal Shade. But you can go ahead and let him attack, and you can see he's doing great damage. Doesn't take much to build into it, and you can definitely improve these numbers. But he does about 250,000 to about 350,000 damage per tick, which is huge and allows him to just take out all sorts of mobs really quick. Now you do have to redo the Dread Shade about every 60 seconds or 40 seconds, I believe it lasts, somewhere in between there. But it comes off cooldown every 19, 18 seconds, and you can just go ahead and throw it back on him again. You'll be good to it. Now once you notice, now right now his life is staying full because he has a ton of leech, especially since he hits the training dummy more than he hits enemies. However, if you were to make him stop, you'll notice that those 500 damage ticks will start to bring down his health a bit. You can reset that a bit by just redoing the Infernal Shade on him, so you can see it's actually doing some decent ticks to his damage. If I recast that on him, look how it slowed down. You can see it definitely slows it down a bit. And then you can just have him attack. So you can reset that damage just by re-putting an Infernal Shade on him. Let's say that you don't want him to die. Say you're going to go AFK. Like I was saying earlier, that Infernal Shade, which will last forever, you can just summon some other minions and then put Infernal Shade on all of them until it falls off of the Abomination. Like it did there, he's no longer going to be attacked, and it will kill off those. You can go AFK. Again, it doesn't take very long just to resummon the minions and resummon him, but if you're in battle or notice him for some reason dying because he's taking too much damage, you can take the Infernal Shade off for a bit. As for leveling this build, you can actually level it up using the Abomination. It does work. I've done it. I would start it out with the 1 to 75 fire minion necro build that I have. I'll have that one linked in the written guide. And then from there, as soon as you get to the point where you've unlocked Abomination, you can go ahead and start using him. But he feels much better once you actually have Dread Shade and Infernal Shade together. So you might want to wait till about level 55 when you have them spec'd and then really build into him. But it will work even earlier than that. Again, you get him about level 45, just under that because of how many points it takes into the Necromancer tree, but he does come together relatively early. And that's going to be it for this guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, stay safe and enjoy some gameplay.